but you never steer me wrong. So lead on, good shepherd, lead on.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the For His Name's Sake podcast, where we talk about leadership skills for this generation that they can use not only in their church, school, and community, but most importantly, their entire Christian walk. And so today, after many failures with the audio, I have finally figured out what the problem was. And it makes no sense, but here we are, and we're going to roll with it. But today we're going to just do another topic, just a random topic, but I think it's very important that each Christian leader has these characteristics we're going to be talking about today. And the plan is, coming up, we're going to do a 18-part series on our For His Name's Sake book. I'm very excited about that. A lot of them will be through Zoom call, but we'll be doing that coming up here very shortly. However, today I want to do this little talk on the fruits of the Spirit. Now, we all know the fruits of the Spirit. We've heard the songs, we've seen the fruits, we've seen pictures, and it's very, cute and all that, but the importance of the fruit of the Spirit is crucial because we see that each Christian needs to have fruit in their life. And every person produces two kinds of fruit. It's either good fruit or it's bad fruit. The good fruit is, I think, the fruits of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And then I think the bad fruit is things in our life, our sin, that we let steal our fruits of the Spirit. That we let our sin and the things we struggle with and the bad things in our life, the distractions, we let them steal the fruits of the Spirit that should be engulfing our lives and should be every single part of our lives. But we'll see here today that with the fruits of the Spirit, as a Christian leader, we should have every single one of these, and that they should engulf our life and they should transform our life, and that when somebody comes in contact with you, that it'll be evident that you are a Christian. So it's in Galatians 5, this verse, and it says in Galatians 5 in verse 22, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, which is patience, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. So the first, I just want to kind of just run through these characteristics of the fruit and how each one of them applies to our Christian walk and our leadership walk. First one, of course, is love. Now, love is something that is, I say, very crucial, and I've said it before on the podcast, that if you don't have love, then what's the point? If we don't want to exemplify love in our life, if we don't want to show other people love, then what is the point? We all love different things. We all like different things, whether it's sports, it's reading, it's going outside, staying inside, we watch something, act out something, whatever it is. We all enjoy and love different things. Well, in this sense, as a Christian, as one of our fruits, we're called to love. To love, one, the greatest commandment of all is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second is likened to it, love your neighbor as yourself. The two greatest commandments had to do with the word love. That we are to love the Lord our God, and that we are to love other people. And this shows that if you'll love the Lord, then the second one will come naturally. That if you truly love and care about the Lord, then you'll care about other people. Because you realize that everyone's made in God's image. And that everyone has a specific talent and ability that can be used for the kingdom. And that everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. but we're all called to love them. But you have to first ask, do you love God? Do you truly love God, spend time in His Word, spend time with the relationship with Him? Or is it just whatever? And the same goes with people. Do you truly, genuinely care about people? Or is it kind of like, oh, they'll be fine, like you talk to them, and then when you walk away, you say bad things about them, or you stab them in the back, or you just, you love on them, and then you actually care nothing about them. Like I've said before, you got to be real. You got to be genuine when you come in contact with people. It's not just a fakeness just to get on and get by, to show yourself you're all this, but it's actually a genuine love and care. Do you love your God? And do you love people and you're willing to do things for them? Because if you had a genuine relationship, that relationship should overflow to others because you love God. Then the second aspect of the fruit we see is joy. Now, this kind of goes hand in hand with love, doesn't it? If you love people, you should be joyful. That you're joyful of what God has done. You're joyful and you have a particular attitude about yourself. And that when you go out, you're not all just, woe is me and I hate the world, but rather you're joyful. You're excited to go out. You're excited to meet new people. You're excited to do new things. You're excited to reach other people for the name of Christ. And that you're ready to go to people and see that they are the one that God has called us to go reach. And you're happy about it. Even though the world's falling apart, you have a joyful attitude. When everything's going wrong, you're still happy because you know God has got your back. And we see that throughout the scriptures about how many times people went through hard times, like Paul and Silas, when they were in prison. And then they started singing songs. I mean, if it was us, we'd be pretty mad. We'd be sad. We'd be upset at God. But no, they were singing because they were joyful. And how many times in our life that maybe something bad goes wrong, it doesn't go our way, and we get all grumpy. But instead, why don't we thank God for what He's done? And then peace. Peace is the third, and I think they all go together. But peace. Do we want to see peace in the world, or do we want to see it fall apart? As Christians and leaders, we want to see people work together for the common good. We want to see people come together to show who Christ is, to stay focused on the main goal, which is showing other people Christ. But if we're living in animosity and war with others, then how can we be peaceable? We're not called to go around and saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. But rather, we're called to go see that God is the lover and creator of all. And He loved us enough to send His Son to die for us. And that we'll see that He is the one above all. And we see that in this passage that He's calling us to have a peace about our lives. And not only that we wish for peace for the world, that everything going wrong, but rather we have a peace in our hearts. A peace that we know that God has got this. An understanding to see that God has got our back and God knows what He's doing. Not all frantic panic like, oh no, the world's falling apart, but no. Realizing that you are at peace with God's plan. And seeing that when God does something, you're at peace with it. When it's time to come make a decision as a leader, and there's many times that you have to make those hard decisions, that don't make those decisions in the moment, but rather make them when you have a peace about it. Because if you don't have a peace when you made a decision, then I think you made the wrong decision. because God is the God of all grace and understanding, and is a peace that no man can understand. Because we have all these outside voices talking to us, all these things on the outside trying to get to us and give them their opinion. But instead of listening to all that, you should listen to God, seeing that He is the one that you need to talk to. He is the one that you should be listening to, not all these other outside influences, but you should be listening to the God that created you and the God that has your purpose in mind. Because all these other outside influences will be very loud voices. But God will speak to you in a soft voice, a soft, stern voice that you will hear if you listen. Then we have patience, something that I am bad at. I don't have good patience. I'm not a very patient person. I just never have been, never will be. Because it's like I'm in a hurry and everybody else is not. And I'm trying to get stuff done and everybody else is like, well. But just think about this. Your life is a little dash. That you were born this year, a dash, and you died this year. There's not that much time in between that. However, think about how long people in the Bible suffered in certain circumstances. Think about Noah when he built the ark, how long it took him to build the ark, and that he had to trust God in those times of building that ark, and how long it took him, and he's like, this is never going to happen. Think about Job and the suffering that he went through, and how all that encompassed his life, and he didn't quite understand it. Think about in Peter's life when he was so quick to judge, he wanted to fight somebody, but Christ was telling him to be patient. God's calling us to be patient in our lives, to wait on the Lord, to be patient and wait on His timing for things, to wait for what His plan is and what His direction is, and not to rush things along. You can't rush the Lord. Don't rush the Lord. Wait for His perfect timing and plan, because it will come to pass. But you have to be willing to wait on the Lord. Then kindness. Kindness is something that a lot of people struggle with. Being kind in situations when problems arise. Being kind in situations where that other side is just not very kind to you. They're pretty mean. They're wanting you to put some hands up and they want you to fight. They want you to say something. But that's not very kind. God told us to turn the other cheek, that we wouldn't respond in wrath, but in kindness and a loving care. That when our enemies do something wrong to us, that we will embrace them rather than push them aside. That when someone does wrong against us, that we will forgive, and we will show them what Christians are about. Because I think so often as Christians we forget that we're supposed to be setting an example for Christ in every situation, even when there comes times where we need to maybe get a little stern. Rather than doing it in love, we do it all out of anger. But God's told us to be kind in every situation. Kind that no man can understand why we would be so kind, but they will be able to see that there's something different about that person. See something that no one else can see. God can. And then we have goodness. God is good. all the time. And all the time, God is good. We see in our lives how good God has been. Everything that He's done for us, the way that He's paid for us. And we see that God can and will and could work in our lives. We've seen God work in my life. I mean, I don't think I would be doing this podcast if it wasn't for Him. I don't think I would be sitting here today if it wasn't for Him. I don't think it would be for Him if you were listening, honestly, right now. Because He is so good. He's so understanding. He's the God of all comfort and grace and goodness. He's a good God even when life isn't. He knows the plan for your life. And God is so good that He'd love us enough to send His Son to die on the cross for our sins. He's so good. But how often do we really think about how good He's been in our lives? How often do we think about His goodness and His mercy and how He's delivered us, the ones of us that are saved, and that He's paved us a way to be with Him, and that He's got us through all those hard circumstances, that every time we mess up, we can come calling back to Him. Isn't that such a good God? You know, the song Goodness of God, that all our life He's been faithful, and all our life He's been so, so good. And that because of that, every breath that you're able, you should sing of His goodness, how good He's been to you. And you have faithfulness. Faithfulness is something that hopefully a Christian does have. And there's a few ways you can apply that. One is to your God. If you're a true Christian, that you will be faithful to the God that saved you. And as a leader, you will be faithful to God because He is your shepherd and you're the under shepherd. You're the one that's leading a flock. You're the one that's leading a group of people, so that you will be faithful to God because He's the one that's really leading. He's the one you should be going to ask, where do I need to go with this? What turn should I take? So His goodness, His faithfulness. And then we think about our faithfulness to the people that follow us. That even when it gets hard, we still press on. Even when we don't know what to do, we still try to figure out something that will work out the best for everybody. That you're faithful to your people and you don't leave them. You don't leave them hanging. You don't leave them with a cliffhanger and just never come back to it. But rather you guide your flock. You'll guide the people that follow you in a particular way, like the shepherd does. That the shepherd guides sheep and protects over them. And that we're called to be faithful to the people that follow us. To help them grow. To show them who Christ is and how they can grow. And then gentleness. I think gentleness is one that may be slightly hard to understand, but I think it is a very important aspect. And I think gentleness just really goes along with peace. And we want to see the peace of the world, but I think gentleness goes right along with, we're not just going around trying to destroy and tear down bridges. But rather, we're going around trying to build people up. And that when a situation arises, we're calm, we're gentle. And when we're gentle, we show the other characteristics of love and caring and being kind. We show people that we actually do care about you. Now, I know you did wrong, but rather, this is what we need to do to move forward with this. This is what we need to do to show who God is and what God can do in your life. God can work in a miraculous way, but we have to help people realize that. And when we have those gospel conversations, when we have those talks with teens and parents, we have to realize we got to be gentle. We can't just push it in their head like that. You can't just expect transformation just like that. You have to be gentle. You have to be gentle with them. And then finally, we have self-control. And it goes right along with gentleness, that we won't be going crazy. We won't be angry in every circumstance. And that when situations arise, we'll be calm, we'll be gentle, we'll have self-control. And even it goes when we're tempted with sin, that we'll have self-control and we won't give into it. That when Satan comes and tries to tempt us to do something that we shouldn't do, that we'll say, no, you're not the Lord of my life, and I'm not going to fall for that trap. And that we have self-control in our hearts, that we will guard our heart so Satan can't get to it. And then we also have self-control in circumstances. When situations arise, do we just snap like that, or do we stay calm like I've said earlier? And those are the fruits: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Now the real question is, how many of those do you show on a daily basis? How many of these fruits do you really have in your life? Because God has called us to have all of them, and that we're supposed to work on them daily. Because if you want to ask, am I a true Christian and am I a true leader? Well, do you have fruits? Is there fruit in your life? Or are you the same way you used to be? Because if you are a true born-again Christian, a true born-again Christian, you will have fruits. Period. There will be something different about you. And as a leader, people will see there's something different about this guy. There's something different about how he does things, or his persona, or how he acts around us. That he's just not any ordinary person, but he's a man sent from God. And that we will be able to see in our lives how good God is and what he's done in our lives. But we have to ask the question, do we have the fruits? Do you have the fruit of the Spirit in your life? But I want to thank everyone for coming on to the episode today. Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the people that subscribe. And if you're interested in learning more about who we are, go down to the description, and we have our Instagram down there. And if you'd like to follow us and subscribe, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, helps us out. Share it with somebody who you think might need this channel or might need a word of encouragement today. I challenge you to go show your fruits and don't be discouraged, and keep doing what is right every single day. I'm excited, the book is out, and I'm excited to show people about the conference that's coming up in October 4th, so be praying for that. And we got some exciting things coming out about that. And thank you so much for listening today. Thank you for being a part of this journey. And I hope to see you for the next episode. I will see you next week.
Good shepherd, I'll follow all my